I'm delighted to be here tonight. So I think we'll just get going. I'm quite excited about my guest tonight. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Lorraine Marr. I am currently an artist in residence at Access in Ballymun. Throughout my residency, I am exploring, I suppose, the social and cultural implications of othering in the arts, in the hope to create a dialogue around access, inclusion and representation. Throughout my time at Access, throughout, I suppose, it's kind of action research in some ways, and I'm hoping to create some work, but I'm having lots of different conversations and really thinking about who I am as an artist, thinking about mainstream arts, thinking about those of us that are seen as being othered, thinking about arts and culture in a much wider context, and thinking about what that is and what that means. And in being able to shape my own practice and thoughts around my own practice, I wanted to have some conversation with some like-minded people. So I'm really excited about our guest tonight. I am going to actually let her introduce herself. So over to you, Marie.
Thanks, Lorraine. How you doing?
I'm great, thanks. I'm really happy to have you here with me tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be here. Marie Boyle is my name. I'm a sculptor. I've been sculpting for about 25 years now. I'm Irish. I grew up in Dublin in an adopted family, and I came over here, oh gosh, when I was about 22, quite young. So I'm a long time in the UK. I took up sculpture about 25 years ago, as I say, and I love it, and there's nothing else really I want to do. So I am a bona fide artist. I sell my work, I make a living. So yeah, it's great. And I have been I visit Ireland a lot. I've got loads of family there, but yeah, I've made the UK my home for the moment.
Now, I'm really excited just looking at those, like, the pieces behind you are just breathtaking.
Thank you.
Did you always see yourself as an artist, Marie? Like, were you always creative?
In a word, yes, I suppose so. It took me a while to realize that, but yeah, from a very young age. I think I was encouraged, though, from an early age, from like, I suppose, primary school onwards. I would have been encouraged in art. I was encouraged in singing, and I was encouraged in sport. So
okay, so that's interesting for me.
Yeah.
Who did the encouraging, and why?
Teachers. Yeah.
What do you think that they well, yeah, I'm not even going to answer for you, but what's
sure, yeah, I know you know, yeah, what I mean. But yeah, it was now I don't know if I showed a wonderful dexterity for those particular arts and crafts and sports, but that's where I ended up excelling in school. I wasn't great. I wasn't a fabulous academic, I will be honest, but my English was okay. My maths was horrible. But if I had spent more time with maths in the maths group as opposed to the sewing group, I could have maybe improved a little bit. But I think my creativity was encouraged from a very early age. I was in a school, it was called Mother Divine Grace in Donegal in Dublin, and I was the only child. I'm not sure how big the school was, but I'd say there was easily 500-600 pupils in it, and I was the only black child. But I was very aware of being in the lower group academically. So I was encouraged in other ways. At the time, I wouldn't have noticed, and of course I didn't notice. But now that I look back on hindsight, I realize, interesting.
Did you what was your Irish like, Marie?
My Irish, do you know something? I loved Irish. I absolutely loved it. And the interesting thing is I'm in a WhatsApp group with all my class from 1983. And hopefully they're all tuning in. I see a few are coming in now. But I loved Irish, and I was able to quote to them on WhatsApp in the last 6 months, especially in lockdown. I was able to quote like Peg Sayers. I was able to quote Irish songs. They had no clue what I was talking about. So I was quite impressed with that. So I think my Irish was okay. I got my honours Irish in Irish. So I loved Irish. Lorraine, I have to say, even now, I'll not be wasting your time, I'm 100% Irish.
I know. Well, yeah. I know.
Culturally, I'm 100% Irish. I love everything about Irishness, and I've got it all, and I learnt it all, and I soaked it all up. Although I wasn't always accepted as Irish, but that's okay. I am Irish inside, and that's all that matters. I grew up in Ireland with an adopted parents from Donegal. They didn't have Irish, but they were a very traditional, gorgeous couple, Tommy and Marie Boyle from the Glenties, County Donegal, and they came to Dublin, and they had one child, and then they wanted more, so they adopted 4 of us. And we were a lovely little bubble all together. We were very different, all very different. But yeah, we clicked, it worked, and Marie Boyle was very proud of all of us. She adored us, I'd say. Possibly she adored us even more than she should have done, for the simple reason we belonged to other mothers. Yeah. And she felt she was gifted with us. And it took her passing for me to realise that. She'll be 5 years gone next month. And yeah, she's an incredible woman. And she dressed us all the same. I think that was her way of dealing with the fact that we were all different colours.
That's a lovely story. That's a lovely story. I remember meeting your sister actually when I took some of my work to Access in 2017, and I was really excited because I knew you, and I was like, oh wow, I'm meeting another one of the sisters. So it was also creative. Was there a lot of creativity in your house, would you say, when you grew up, when you were growing up?
No, I don't think there was. Michelle excelled herself. I mean, she's an amazing artist now. And again, she's like an acting working artist, and she's award-winning as well. Michelle she studied art though, properly, not like me. She actually studied art in school, and she showed great talent from a very early age. I remember Mom calling it scribbling, her painting. Scribbling, don't be wasting time. You'll never have a career with that. Don't be scribbling. And I didn't scribble as much as Michelle did, but at some stage, Mom did expect, she bought her the paints, and Michelle started painting seriously at home. So Michelle was a very fine artist from an early age. I wasn't. I was still knitting and sewing. that was my thing, But yeah, I was definitely creative, whatever I could do. I love gardening as well. So yeah, any sense of creativity. And I think Marie Boyle, my mother, was kind of surprised by me. I remember hearing her not once, but many times saying, that one can do anything. She never actually told me to my face, but she said it to everyone else. And she was saying it with pride. That one can do anything. And I didn't know what she meant, but now I do.
She was really proud of you.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I resonate with what you're saying, because I know, like, my mother, until she died, she couldn't quite get that you could earn a living out of being creativity, or that you'd even want to. It was like, but I know equally she did have that same kind of pride, particularly when I brought her into spaces that I was working in. But I don't think she had the language to talk about it. And when I think about that, I think I'm the same. Like, I'm currently in a place where I'm trying to understand who I am as an artist, because when we look at mainstream arts and culture, particularly mainstream Irish arts and culture, there is a kind of perception about what that is. So when you think about mainstream arts, what's your thoughts about that?
Well, I must say, I suppose, I'd like to think I'm in the thick of it, really, Lorraine. Like, it's not something that I've ever had to question. I've never had my work questioned. I've been rejected, granted, by galleries, but from a personal perspective, I've never had my work rejected on possibly an ethnic level. I have approached galleries, and they can see the way I look, and they can hear the way I am. They can hear and they would be pleasantly surprised. As you know, there wouldn't be a lot of Black, Irish accented people in the UK yet. It's only a matter of time. I reckon the floodgates are going to open.
Yeah.
But I've never had a problem. I think my work stands for itself. I think it's quite westernized, my approach. I did history of art. Well, I didn't do history of art, but I studied, I suppose, Italian Renaissance art in, oh my goodness, probably Intersearch. And I fell in love then with the pictures in my history book. And I thought, wow, this is amazing, you know. And I knew I wanted to go there too. So I think years later that came back and haunted me a bit. I always knew I was a figurative artist, for instance. As you can see the work behind me, there's no decoding it or trying to read it. It is what it is, you know. And it's simple, it's straightforward. People can see what it is. And that's what I've always strive to do. That's been important to me. So I don't think I've had a problem, and I've never felt othered regarding my art. I have to be honest, I've never felt othered regarding my art. I feel I'm with it, I'm out there, what I'm doing. And I think in the art world, in the world of art, your color is completely immaterial. I think I'd have to say that, okay, galleries have a problem. Maybe galleries would have a problem. And I know black art, but I don't really want to go into the US. They can have a problem getting represented, black artists. But I don't think that's here. And I hope to goodness it's not in Ireland where there is a problem regarding getting your art shown.
Can I ask you, Marie, when you're talking about art in that way, are you talking about visual arts?
I am. I'm talking about, I'm talking about painting and sculpture. Are you talking about every other kind of art?
No, I suppose that I'm just clarifying, because I know certainly for me growing up, the arts was just the arts. It was everything. And it took me a little while to even understand what wet and dry arts was, you know, so I guess I'm just clarifying just for anyone that might be listening in that, just breaking it down.
Okay. Well, that's my experience, Lorraine. It would be, I suppose I wouldn't have looked much into music or acting, or because I suppose they're not my genres. But for me personally, I haven't had a problem with my art or displaying my art. If I have had, it's possibly because it's the wrong genre, it's the wrong type for a gallery. But I've never had a problem in that respect.
So tell me a bit about then, like your world as a visual artist. When your work is shown, are you? Is there a time that you're described as like a female artist,
that's a very interesting question.
A black artist, as an Irish artist, as a person that lives in the UK? Does that go alongside all of that?
No, I suppose there's a few different ways my art is shown. One is directly to clients, and that would be when I exhibit myself in group exhibitions, and more often than not you will meet the clients then, and they're dying to meet you. And again, I've never had an issue with the visual, and as I say, the accent is usually a pleasant surprise. It's not a problem. In the upmarket galleries, I'm hidden. They don't see me, and there's a reason for that. The gallery has to protect its own interests, obviously. So I'm hidden. I'm not in the foreground at all, which means they don't see what color, and people don't care. They don't care if they like your art. They like your art. You know, it's appreciated. It's accepted. It's not an issue. It's not an issue. And as I say, I think sometimes, I don't know, ethnicity, I think, can be very arty. It's like art for art's sake, you know. And the more interesting maybe your background is, the more the client is going to be interested in you anyway. That's what I find anyway. That's what I find.
Yeah, I can imagine that that would be of interest, because I think, like, if I want to buy Irish art, I want to buy art that's been created by an Irish artist, because I want to invest in our
that's very
country. I want to invest in our island. So I just, you know, I wondered about that, and it is interesting to think that, you know, for galleries, that the artist is often not shown in that way. And there's something quite nice about that. There's something quite nice about your work speaking for itself, and there being no colour, no voice.
Yeah, it's very liberating. It's very liberating. It's not about the personality of the artist. I think at some stage, if they start collecting your work, they want to meet you. But the thing is, we're all out there anyway. We're all online. We have Facebook. We have our website so they can see us. The last client who contacted me directly, she was a friend of somebody who had bought my work, and she said she was very excited, and she's on the phone, and she said, "I've seen you, and I know you're Irish," and I knew she wanted to meet me. She was quite intrigued by my background and my accent. So that's nice. That's great. It happens. But I think if they love your work speaks for itself. You know. I have never come on systemic or institutional racism regarding showing my work. I have to honestly say that. But I know it's out there. I know it exists. But I've been lucky to date.
I mean, it's kind of heartwarming hearing that, actually, Marie.
Yeah.
But do you think that would there have been a difference, do you think, if you still worked and created in Ireland, or do you think that some of your experiences are because you live in the UK? And I'm asking you this because I know you spend quite a lot of time going over and back. So I'm just interested in how art is perceived within Ireland and how it's perceived to the rest of the world. Or is there any difference, do you think?
Very interesting question. I think because of you, Lorraine, I must say, and the whole I Am Irish network, I've started looking and researching Ireland and Black Ireland, and I've been shocked. I've been pleasantly surprised. I've been dismayed by stuff I've read. It's all online, so it's stuff that I've learned and researched for myself. And what I found is Ireland is 5 minutes multicultural. It's as simple as that. It's 5 minutes only. It's got a long way to go. When I was there way back, there was me and about 3 other people in Dublin that were not white. It was as simple as that. Now it's totally different. It's exciting. And what excited me more than anything was the level of education of a lot of Black Irish. They've got their degrees, they've got their professorships, they've got their everything. They're really studying and they're coming out with their degrees. And that's wonderful. There's a wonderful role model thing going to happen in Ireland that wasn't there in my time and wasn't there for maybe 20 years after. But they're coming now. And I think that's really going to help everything in Ireland regarding multiculturalism and a dynamic, inclusive Ireland. I think it's really going to help. I was reading, I just discovered her recently, I don't know if you know her, a professor called Dr. Yvonne Joseph.
I know Yvonne, yes.
Okay. I only know of her for the last month maybe, and I'm blown away by her. She's, for those who don't know, she's a professor in Trinity College. She's an activist. She's Nigerian, and she's doing fantastic work just regarding pushing Irish studies. And I think because of her, not Irish studies, sorry, Black studies, I think because of her, she's actually managed to get a module in Trinity College starting next year. And I believe there's one also in UCD. I'd love to do it myself. You never know. Might be back yet.
In fact, actually, Yvonne has been running some free taster sessions, so that you know. I'll introduce you. She is.
Oh yes, please. Yes, please. She's an amazing character. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that there are changes. There are changes. That is really clear that there are changes. But when I started thinking about my residency at Access, and the thing that I was thinking about the most, or the thing that was staying with me the most, is even though that I now am able to go to spaces and feel like I don't have to hide in the same way that I did years ago. Now I own my Irishness in a completely different way. Like we were talking earlier on about our accents and the fact you still really sound clearly Irish. My accent is really diminished. For those that don't know, I'm from Tipperary. I left Ireland when I was probably 16, but I go home all the time. Like Ireland's home, my family are there. I'm an Irish woman. But in the earlier days, I worked really hard to get rid of my accent because of experiences growing up that I didn't really want to be associated with. Now the face of that has really changed. But still, when I was looking on the Irish census form, we are still other. We are still other. You can be white Irish, you can be Black Irish, you can be Asian Irish, or you can be other. And it's a real kind of bugbear for me being other, because
that makes you other. Yeah, you're other. Okay.
Being other, it's never been enough. It's never been the,
Sure.
you know, the it. You're always
Yeah.
what comes behind. So that was a start for me. Now I know that there's a new census form next year. I don't know what that's going to look like. I feel like there will be changes. And I know that there's a space in there, like a time capsule space, that you can write in whatever you want, and that will be seen in 100 years. But then it got me looking at the census forms around the world, and globally, Irish people are white. Globally, like on every census form across well, I can't say across the world. I'd be talking out of my hat because I haven't seen every single one. But the majority that I've seen, Irish people are always seen as white.
Yeah, yeah. Well, traditionally they were, and you know, for thousands of years they were.
Well, for thousands of years, I would say that the Irish traveling community, you know, are Irish people. I have to say that there are people of colour that have been in Ireland for centuries. So I don't feel like, you know, we have a different view there, I guess. I think that the world perceived that Ireland was completely white. And I think, but there's been minorities within Ireland.
But never really, I would say, Lorraine, communities. There were never communities or ghettos or like traveling bands of Black people. Would you agree with me?
Yeah.
I mean, Irish travellers are essentially white.
Irish travellers are traditionally, but I have met Irish travellers who also identify with being brown or Black, because
Wow, okay.
You know, they identify they identify in that way. But I hear where you're coming from. You know, when you're saying that, I do hear what you're thinking about. But
well, you were there. You're a bit younger than me, but you were there growing up, and you know how many Black or non-white children were in your school. Put it that way.
Hardly any, Marie. Hardly
any.
There
were none in mine. I was in Dublin, and there were none.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the country. There was a girl that was born when I was 10, and there was a boy that what I was told at the time was that he was in the naughty boys. He was in the naughty boys school, which I later learned was a mother and baby home, an institution, which you know, left a bit of a sour taste actually, because I thought because of what happened to him in his life, he was deemed to be a naughty boy. Do you know what I mean? Like that's how the world perceived him, to be a naughty boy. And so when I'm thinking about Irish arts and culture and how that's seen throughout the world, if globally Irish people are seen a particular way, I can see why sometimes when we think about Irish arts and culture, that it is ring fenced and into. So that's why, like, I'm excited when I hear you as an artist that is saying, or you know, that your testimony to the fact that your work is just seen for your work, and that you don't see that.
Absolutely. And the other thing as well, Lorraine, is gosh, there's loads of, like, I love Instagram, so there's loads of like Black Irish Instagram accounts, and I've started following them all, and I'm quite excited about that as well. When I left Ireland, I won't say I was bitter, but I didn't know when I'd be coming back, because I'll never forget hopping off the bus in Oxford Street and landing in kind of multicultural paradise. I thought, this is fantastic. I don't know when I'll be back in Ireland again. That was my approach, just to blend in, to be invisible. I thought, this is wonderful. I was far from invisible in Dublin. And that's why I stayed, and that's where I'm at. But now, in the last couple of months, and with your help and your group, what you started, I started looking back at Ireland and thinking, wow, there's huge change. There's huge change. So much change indeed that I think, I might be ready to go back. I might be ready, you know, and that's wonderful. Okay, there are problems, and there will be problems. As I say, multiculturalism in Ireland is 5 minutes old. That's all it is. It's going to take time. You've come along at a very good time. I also think Black Lives Matter has come along at a very good time. we've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of education to spread in Ireland. I think there is kind of a racism starting, and just from my reading of what I read regarding young students, even the undergraduates surprised me actually, because they were saying they were being called abusive language and then told it's only crack by their Irish friends.
Yeah.
And I thought, no, that's not good enough. So I've just read Isabella Wilkerson, Cast. I don't know if you know the book, Lorraine. Yeah. Oprah Winfrey's book club, I got it from. And it's just incredible. I feel it's a must read for everybody. Black and white Irish, very important. This book, I would advocate. She's wonderful, Isabel Wilkerson, because she goes into caste and she takes it from the Indian, the old caste system that's like centuries old. And she talks about the high caste, which are the Brahmin, going right down to the Dalit, I think they're called. And you're born into a caste and you stay in a caste. And the Nazis in Germany actually looked at this and they decided to use this against the Jews just before World War II. And they did the same thing. They needed to subjugate the Jews. Over in the US, earlier than that again, the Americans, after the freedom of the slaves, they did the very same thing as well. They looked at the caste, the Indian caste system, which was so successful, and decided to subjugate the freed Black slaves by using it. So caste is an artificial construct, nothing to do with actual color of skin, but unfortunately, it's been used to white advantage.
I mean, I would agree. I mean, I think, you know, we could say the same thing of race. Race is a social construct. And, you know, when I've been thinking a lot recently, particularly when I've been, you know, I've just been thinking a lot. And I'm thinking a lot about class and what that means for us. Because I know certainly for me growing up, the arts was elitist. It was for...
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
It wasn't for the likes of me. Now, I know that you grew up around Ballymun. Do you, you know, so when you were growing up, do you think it would have been easy for you to be able to like, you're a really successful sculptor. Like, do you think that when you was in Ballymun, do you think like that you would have had the same kind of opportunities and the same access to opportunities?
That's very interesting question. Possibly not. The reason why I'm remembering a conversation that I had about a year ago with the class of 83, and I put out there on WhatsApp how many of us went to university straight after school, being Northsiders. Not so much the Ballymun, I'd say, just Northsiders, because the Holy Faith Convent we went to was in Finglas. So, and we all came from that area, just spread out right across the north side of Dublin. And I think there were two, maybe even one. Okay. You know, maybe even one from, I'd say there was about 80 of us that would have graduated from Leaving Cert in that year. That's incredible. Now, think of the South Side. It would have been possibly 75% of the same numbers in a school, you know? So you're right, regarding opportunity, and especially art. You didn't go into art, you know? You went for an apprenticeship, you went to the civil service, you went for the nursing, I nursed, you went for the Gardaí, you went for other kind of apprenticed jobs, you know, from the north side. But a few were lucky and a few would have went to uni. So you're right, I mean, art would be the last thing you would possibly study in uni. But that's fair enough, that's the way it was then.
So when we think now, like your take on it is that multiculturalism is 5 minutes old in Ireland. Now, when we're thinking about whoever that those communities are, whoever those individuals are, those people are, how do you think that we could embrace those individuals and communities in Irish arts and culture?
Do you mean the young people growing up today?
Young people or old people. I mean, for me, I think what's exciting about arts and culture is that something you can do at any age. I don't always think that it's that you're kind of stuck in a particular age. I mean, even when we think about performance, I've seen actors come into performance and they're, you know, when they're 70, because it's been a lifelong dream that they haven't had an opportunity to explore until later in life, or maybe when they've retired. But and that I don't want to undermine, you know, those that have chosen this path and have gone into it from a young age and have worked on it for forever. I'm not taking away from that, but I just think that the arts just feels so inherent in us, and creativity feels so much part of who we are, that I think that it is something that we can explore, whether we do it professionally or whether we do it for, you know, for something that our heart desires.
Yeah, but do you not think it's more prevalent than ever before, though, Lorraine? You know, art is out there, it's in the community. There's opportunities that weren't there in our time.
Yeah.
Would you not agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But how do you think, so like when I look at Irish arts and culture, I have to ask the questions about representation. Like when we look at the communities, and I'm sure that you will agree with me, when you go home now to North Dublin, it doesn't look like what it might have looked like when you were growing up there before you left home. But still, we're not seeing that community represented in Irish arts and culture in the way that we could or should. So I am interested in your thoughts about, and you may not have, you know, I've been thinking about it a lot. You may not have even thought about it, but how can we embrace that? How can we, you know, when we're thinking about representation, what's your thoughts about that, Marie?
Yeah, I think maybe you're jumping the gun a little bit. I feel it's going to happen. It's going to evolve naturally and slowly. Let's call them the non-white community that's is suddenly emerging out of Ireland has to find its feet. They have to find where they fit and where they belong. And it's a social economic thing more than anything. The children are schooling, they're going to school, the schools are fabulous, and they will find themselves. I was encouraged in art, remember that, Lorraine? That's how we started this conversation. Yes. I think it's something that it's going to evolve. It's a bit like, as you said, choices, so you having to tick other on an Irish census form. It will evolve. So it's going to be a slow process.
But what then do you think that you'd say? I don't know, and you feel like I might be jumping the gun with that, but what would you say then to those artists that are trying to get a foot in the door that are not, and you know, they're ready, they're able, they're skilled, but there isn't the opportunity.
Okay, so you feel there's kind of a systemic racism going on already?
I think that I believe that there is systemic racism in Ireland. I think that there is. I think that I think a lot of the systems, but that's my view, that a lot of the systems that are in place are, and I think that there's a lot of old narratives, a lot of unconscious bias that we all carry, actually, and unless that we're keeping it in check and working on it and reacting with it. I think it's really evident. I mean, I think that even when we look at all the protesters that there's been in Ireland this year, I think it's really evident that that does exist. But I think that we have an awakened community of people of all colours in Ireland who want to be part of a solution. And I'm just thinking, because we know the stories, we've grown up with the stories. I think what's really uncomfortable for me is that some of the stories that we have of childhood, I still see, like particularly in our parents group on the I'm Irish group, we still see those stories. So that's still happening. It's still happening. Yeah,
I was disappointed to see that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it is still happening. You know, you mentioned being part of lots of different groups, so you know that all of that stuff is still happening.
Sure.
And I'm just wondering about you know, about some of the solutions, I guess. And I think it's twofold, because I think that there are groups of people who want opportunities, and there's groups of arts organizations, Access is one of them, who create amazing opportunities, but people are not applying for those opportunities. So I'm just wondering, and I don't have an answer for you. I'm just wondering about what your thoughts are.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I've been out of Ireland, as I told you, an awfully long time. So I'm not sure what the way forward is, but I do believe education is incredibly important, and you know, you arm yourself with information and learning and take it from there. I always think kind of an oppressed people, be they oppressed, I don't know where these non-white people are coming. I know a lot of them are immigrants, or where, I'm not sure if that's still the case, but I know a lot of immigrants have come to Ireland in the last 20 years. And have sought asylum, but out of hardship comes grief, pain, and usually creativity. So there will be a lot of art, and there will be a lot of stories to be told, and there will be a lot of books written and a lot of film made, and they won't be all white, that's for sure. And because of that, and because of that path, I think you're going to see an awful lot of non-white or ethnic culture in Ireland, and it will be accepted, and it will get an ear, and it will get listened to.
I think I agree with you, because I think that I think even as Irish people, we are great storytellers. I think that for centuries, when there has been you know, something horrendous, we've responded with our art, regardless. You know, when we think about what kind of art that is, we've responded in so many different ways, and I think we're seeing some of those responses coming forward now. And I'm thinking even about the kind of grow your own schemes. I'm thinking about you know, how we amplify those voices, and in lots of ways this conversation is even an amplification of that, because here we are, two Irish women of color who are both identify as artists, and in lots of ways actually that is evident that you can, and we have, regardless of all the challenges. I think though that I'm mindful that we have left Ireland in order, I don't know, I can't speak for you, Marie, but I know certainly for me, I left Ireland and then appreciated being Irish, and I appreciate that Irishness.
Absolutely, yes, I agree with you 100% there. Yeah, I identified, as soon as I left Ireland, I was confident with my Irishness, and identified as Irish, and I had a national identity. Ironic for me, because I was born to an Irish mother in London, so I wasn't born in Ireland. So yeah, every time I'm Irish, simple as. There's no argument really for me. We're getting back to, though, the Irish themselves. They haven't always had it easy, and this is what I find interesting as well. If there are going to be glass ceilings and racism starting in Ireland, where there never was slaves, you know, the Irish never enslaved blacks, and that's really important, because the UK did, and you're laughing.
No, I'm not. I spilled water in my eye when I was even thinking about that.
Okay,
I think,
like the US enslaved, UK enslaved, many European countries enslaved blacks and got them to build their cities. Ireland didn't. Ireland was too busy fighting the English. They were too busy trying to keep their church, their land, their schools, their education. I mean, you know, kids got taught in hedgerows, you know, hedge schools. Learning was abolished, was banned by the English. So the Irish really suffered. And a couple of 100 years ago, as you say, black people started wandering in, the minstrel or the singer or you know, they wandered in, they were accepted, they were a character. They weren't enslaved, they weren't chained, Lorraine, you know? And the thing is, what I find a little bit difficult now to accept is that the Irish have suddenly jumped on the bandwagon of the UK adage, the American adage of the caste system, and subjugating the non-white community, you know, and I find that sad. I find it sad. I think it was Roddy Doyle's Commitments. Do you remember the movie? One of the characters said, there's no reason why we shouldn't sing soul music, because the Irish are the blacks of Europe. That line was in the movie, and it's a great line. It's a great line. The Irish were the underdogs, you know, and Victorian England made sure, because they wanted to take Ireland, so they had to make the Irish out to be just lazy, dirty, wouldn't work, and that's how they subjugated the Irish. So the Irish have been there. So, like, saints and scholars and welcoming nation. Yeah, let's see more of that, please.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of that I agree with. I think, you know, the Irish did have a role to play in the transatlantic slave trade. I think that
Or abroad, maybe abroad, when they went abroad.
abroad, not in Ireland, not in Ireland, not in Ireland.
No.
And I think it's also really important to say that not all Black people that went to Ireland went there as artists, and not all, most of the, and I would say the majority of Black people that went to Ireland centuries ago were free. I mean, I think that if you look at Irish mythology, which is way behind all of that, it shows us that there was a dark people that came from North Africa. So, I mean, I think that the story goes like way far behind that. But I hear what you're talking about when we're thinking about who we are as Irish people, and we think about the oppression that we've suffered. And the other thing is like, you know, when we look at the island of Ireland, in the 32 counties, you know, we've got a population of 6.5 million, but there's 80 million people of Irish descent around the world. So we've gone everywhere and been welcomed, and doors have been opened, and people have settled, and they've had their families, and they've grown, they've worked, and yet that there still is this resistance in some way.
It's a newness. Lorraine, it's a newness. It's fear of the unknown. That's all it is, you know. And as I say, it's a 5-minute thing. It'll get better. It will get better. England, London had its problems, you know. It's had its riots, and it's had like lots of race issues. Still has, probably, and there is systemic and institutional racism. It has been proven time and time again. It'd be lovely if we could kind of jump that and not have to worry about that. It would be just so nice, you know. And maybe it's just a romantic notion that I've got, but I'm just delighted that Ireland is a little bit mixed race than it was. I'm just so pleased about that.
It's probably a lot more, and we're becoming more and more visible to the world. Actually, we're becoming more and more visible. I think what's interesting is that there is this kind of notion of Irishness that is an American notion that you know, that we see in films like Hollywood. We're responsible for showing the world kind of who we are. And there is this picture of the flat cap wearing, Aaron sweater wearing white person that
you're going way back now, Lorraine.
way back. But the problem is that you often find people who are third, fourth, even fifth generation Irish American that are so patriotic. They've never set foot in Ireland. They have no idea who we are.
Of course. Yeah,
but they still are the people that are influencing in lots of ways.
The old ideas,
what
the old ideology, of course.
What Irish music is, what Irish theatre is, what Irish arts is.
Sure.
I'm feeling, I mean, the more I'm thinking about us conversing this evening, Marie, what I feel more and more excited about is that when I'm thinking about visual art, I'm thinking of it in a way that it is breaking down barriers in a particular way. I know I spoke at an event years ago, and I asked the audience to paint a picture with me, and I gave them, you know, a white screen and an array of different tools to use, all white tools. And when we look at what that creates, it creates a particular image that we can't see. But when you add color to that image, it brings everything.
It's interesting.
It brings everything on the page to life. And I'm just thinking about what visual arts can do for Ireland, can do for representation in a particular way. And I'm not saying that, you know, because you're an Irish artist and a woman who identifies as being a woman of color, that puts all of that onto you, because that's not your responsibility to do that. And I'm sure you don't want that responsibility to do that. But I feel more and more excited. Like when I hear people talk about art now, I say to people like, "Do you know Marie Boyle? Like, how can you know her work? Irish woman. I'm very proud of you, Marie. I'm very proud of the work.
I'm very proud of you, Lorraine.
I'm just proud of the work that you do, because it's your work is in the mainstream. It is, you know, I know that you've got work across the world in private collections, And Ireland should feel very proud of you. And I feel excited for young Irish people of all colours being able to look at the work that you've created and to see your work being sold, you know, like across the world. Like, that's really inspirational.
Yeah, yeah.
What would you say to some of those young artists?
Gosh, I don't know. I suppose it'd be a question of just follow your heart, follow your dream, and stick with it and keep trying. And if a door closes in your face, just keep going. You try another door and you keep trying. And that's something that art is hard, for sure. Art is hard. And I think most parents, Irish parents, and possibly even English parents, fear when their children decide to study art because it's just so unpredictable. A minority make it and the rest struggle. And that's known. That's unfortunately the way art is. Very few of us become Hearsts or Gormleys, you know, that's the way it is. It's very difficult. It's a tricky world. So if parents aren't encouraging us, so that could be a good start, you know, where parents have faith in children and support them regarding their art, you know, if they want to do it. But that doesn't have to be an on-white thing. That, I'm afraid, right? That's right.
No, then that's, you know, that's
it's right across the board.
And that's the gift, isn't it? Then it is right across the board. So when we're looking at equity, when we're looking at inclusion, when we're looking at representation, the gift that you're given right now and the advice that you're given is something for everybody. And actually, that's my aspiration for Ireland, is that whatever we're doing, it's something that can offer for everybody and it's accessible to everybody.
It's interesting as well, this whole kind of positive discrimination that's going on at the minute as a result, let's face it, of Black Lives Matter and the protests. Apparently there is more inclusion now regarding Black artists and galleries. There is definitely a positive discrimination thing going on. I'm not saying Ireland because I don't know what the situation there is, but in the US for sure, it's something that's being taken on board and considered. I've always been someone who's never really been interested in positive discrimination. I just feel you are what you are, and there shouldn't be a protocol for some and not for others. And at this point in time, at this stage in history, and at this stage in Black history, I think this is the time. This is actually the time to give a bit of leeway to Black lives, give them the chance, because apparently, like I do know in the US, there's the percentage of Black artists compared with artists as a whole is tiny. The representation is tiny in the galleries. Sorry, I keep coming back to art and sculpture because that's all I know.
Fine. No, that's what you do.
Yeah, but you know, a bit of positive discrimination would go a long way. Right now, I think it's a good thing, and I'm very impressed with the UK. There's just Black representation all the time, and I'm just hoping it can not so much last, but be there alongside white representation. That's what I'm hoping will happen, you know. But I'm very impressed at the moment with what's going on, you know. I think these protests have worked wonders, and for the first time ever, I must say, anytime I've seen Black protests in the UK and the US, I'm also seeing white protesters alongside Black, and that is just so refreshing. That's the first time historically for me that I've seen it, you know.
Yeah, no, I think I have to agree with you there. So Marie, if you could speak to the galleries and the exhibitors in Ireland, what would you say to them?
I'd say open your minds. Try and see multicultural Ireland for what it is, what it's growing into, what's developing, what's evolving, because it for sure is evolving. 70 years ago, the UK, like London, was probably predominantly white. We all remember no Blacks, no dogs, no Irish. Airbnb in the 60s. So look what's happened now. You wouldn't dare see anything like that now. It's wonderful. I love London. I love the UK. But Ireland needs to learn from the UK. They really do. And hopefully they will. But yeah, open their hearts, embellish, probably non-Irish culture, because it's the future. It's the way we're going. I'm not saying Irish culture is going to get eradicated. That will never happen. It's too strong. It's too old. It's too
and we
Irish.
don't want it to.
We don't
want it to. Like, I love Irish arts and culture. I want that to remain.
Yeah, but there has to be representation of everything. That would be fabulous in galleries, and I think it will happen. I think it will. It's just going to be a really slow process, Lorraine.
So can I just ask you, and we're just thinking about that, Marie, because one of the things that I think about all the time is who perceives what to be quality. Because if you don't understand other cultures, then you know, like, how do we? I suppose that what I would say to any institute is to trust the artist and trust what the artist is bringing to the table, because I think that what anyone creates, you know, from themselves, they're the experts. They're the experts. So
of course. You know,
I know that we can be perfectionists in our own art form, but if we want to share something, if we want to show something, then it's kind of trust in that, isn't it? And trust in, you know, if you're working with people from other cultures that you don't really understand, to trust their process rather than your own bias or your own thoughts around.
Absolutely. That's a tricky one. Yeah, if there is bias in galleries, and it can be hard. And occasionally you find what sells in a gallery they will want more of it from you. You know, they can get a little bit nervous sometimes regarding showing something different from you. So I found that myself, and it's okay. It's understandable. It's the galleries are a business, but what we need as well, I come back to it time and time again, it's all about education. The more educated people you've got going through universities of colour, the more people of colour you'll see owning galleries.
That's what we want to see. That's what we want to see.
Absolutely.
We want to see representation. Like, for me, it's not any above or beyond, but we want a space for everybody. We want to see everybody given an equal opportunity.
Yeah.
Before we finish up tonight, I'm transfixed on the piece behind you. Talk us through it.
Oh my Lord, there's a load.
To your left.
To my left.
I'm seeing a lovely harp.
Harp. Oh, okay. Big coin. It's a big Irish coin.
I love it. I just love it.
Oh, thank you. Maybe I'll do one for you sometime and get it over to you. Yeah.
I'm definitely holding you to that. I love it.
Oh, good. Okay, not a problem. That is a 2016 coin, and I put 2016 on it for the simple reason it was to celebrate the centenary of the 1916 Rising. Now, of course, there's no Irish coins around anymore. We're all euro, so it's very unusual in that sense. Yeah, I'm delighted with it. It's it's the back of a big penny, and the harp was on every coin in Ireland. But it's 2016. There's obviously no such thing, no such coin exists. So I'm not ripping off anything. So it's legit. But yeah, it needs a good polish, and it's yours, honey.
Oh my goodness!
So,
oh my goodness!
I'll sort that for you. Thank you. I thought you were looking at one of these flying things through the air.
At all of them.
You honed in on the coin. Nice one.
They're all gorgeous, but you know that shows me who you are as an Irish woman.
Yeah, but I love Irish history, and I know Ireland went mad 4 years ago for the 1916 Rising. There was loads of art, loads of plays, loads of celebrations for the 1916 Rising, and because it was 100 years basically. So I thought, hey, I'll make a coin to commemorate it. So there you go, darling. It's yours.
Interestingly enough, Marie, it's the same year that I created #I'mIrish.
Lovely. Nice one. I was wondering about that because I did think it was about 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was the same year.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And it was because it was the centenary. That was the year.
Wonderful.
Like, it was an important year. So
excellent.
Before we finish up this evening, is there anything that you want to say that you haven't had an opportunity to say tonight?
I think Coco, my dog, has a few things to say. She's probably locked out. But I think, well, first of all, I think you're amazing. I love what you're doing. You have brought my identity to my attention. You have made me fall in love with Ireland again. Like, I'm actually quite excited about Ireland. And I think, you know, between us, maybe it takes us older people, you know, to push this, you know, we need to get involved more. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to, I don't know, looking at this Black Studies module at Trinity College. I'd love to do it.
And very interesting. Great speakers as well.
Yeah, because the thing is, you only know so much. And it was like Bella Wilkerson's book Cast, you know, I was blown away by the stuff I learned from it. And I feel the Black Studies module might be, I think you have to be an undergraduate as well, so you might have to study something else. But yeah, I look forward to that and just hanging out in Ireland a little bit. And I've spoken to a few galleries actually. Oh, that could be interesting. I'll let you know about that, because I'm trying to get some work into galleries. But the thing is, you cannot hide your identity. Because of Facebook, because of online, everyone can see you. It's a very visual thing, you know.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's what's exciting, actually, is that people are seen in a different way, and people are celebrated in that kind of way. I would also say to maybe check out the Mixed Museum online site. Conrad Bryant from the Association of Mixed Race Irish. They've created an exhibition from 1700 to 2000 of mixed race Irish people, race Irish people who have from in the UK. So that in itself shows us that we've been around for a really long time, and actually kind of adds sometimes to the frustration that even we still have a belief that actually we were in a minority. You know, well, I mean, we are in a minority. We are in the smaller figures, but not as small as we thought we were. And it's interesting that a lot of us only ever found each other outside of Ireland, but I think that that's often because a lot of us were trying to stay hidden. And what's
very good, very good point. Yeah, very good point. I did have an invisible identity going on while I was there, and it only blossomed when I came away.
I think what's amazing though, Marie, is that there's so many amazing creatives that we are showing the world that Ireland looks lots of different ways. There isn't a stereotypical Irish look anymore.
You're absolutely right.
Is an Irish look. It's an Irish look. So Marie, thank you so much for giving up your time this evening for speaking.
I loved it, Lorraine. I loved it. Thank you for asking me. Thank you for inviting me.
I couldn't have done this without inviting you. You know, you're a Ballymun girl. How could I not? How could I not invite you? And it's really interesting hearing other artists and hearing people's views, because I'm really going through a place where I'm trying to understand my own work. I'm trying to, you know, I work in a multi-art form way. I don't work with visual. I'm not blessed to be a visual artist. I'd love to think I am, but that's not who I am. Yeah. But I'm a performer. Well, I can't even say I'm a performing artist because I don't perform. I'm a behind the scenes. I am an artist. And I work in lots of different ways. But I think what is becoming more and more clear to me is that a bit like when I'm looking at your pieces behind you, the work that I'm doing is about people. It's about representation.
Absolutely.
It's about dreaming, but most of all, it's about kind of simply saying what you want to say.
Absolutely.
Because I think that we live in a world that is really fandangled sometimes.
Yes, and you can't undermine the fact that you are very much an activist, Lorraine. And I don't know if you would associate that word with yourself, but to me, you are. You make things happen, and you've made things happen regarding Black Ireland. I really feel you've instigated it, and you've created a movement that's just going to take off with its own momentum, and it has done. It actually has done. So, and that's something I could never do. So that is a creative art form that you have, and you've identified with it and made it yours, and that's your narrative, you know. So don't always be looking for art, because I think you're living it. I think you're actually, you know, you're there.
Well, it feels like it's that at the minute, Marie, that it is that we can live and breathe, and actually everything is a sharing of that, is a sharing of creativity. But I think it's also important to recognize that, like, for me, having somewhere like the Access give us a platform, that in itself, it's really important that we have that we have arts organizations, that we have individuals that are allies, that are are supporting the way, that are creating opportunities with us and for us, because it's all about collaboration and it's about inequality.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, all of this is important, and it is about people being seen. So that when I think about you as a visual artist, that's what's exciting for me, because the world is seeing you, it's seeing your work, it's seeing what you create, you know. And I feel such pride as I go through Heathrow Airport and I know that your work is there, and you're you know, and I'm sending people to go and look, like, go and have a look at this Irish woman, and now people are seeing this amazing Irish woman. So Marie, we're going to leave it there this evening. I thank everybody at home for joining us this evening. I'll be back again next Wednesday, and Marie, we're going to continue talking. Good night.
Well, you, me, lunch, yeah? We do lunch, London? Yeah.
I will definitely be doing lunch.
Tate Modern.
I'm on that.
Inspired. Yeah, and drinkies.
I don't drink, but we'll be having the cup of tea.
Lovely, lovely.
Thanks, Marie.
I'll do the drinking for you.
Good night.
God bless. Thanks a million, Lorraine.